Grandparents' Day. Happy Grandparents' Day 2020.
Happy Grandparents' Day from the clinic.
Happy Grandparents' Day! Happy Grandparents' Day! We love you! Happy Grandparents' Day!
Hello! Happy Grandparents' Day!
Happy Grandparents' Day.
What I love about my grandparents most is that they're really nice and they do a lot of things for me.
I love my grandparents because they are extremely loving.
I love my grandparents because they're always there when I need them.
I love my grandparents because they go fishing with me.
I love my grandparents because they are very helpful and caring.
I love my grandparents because they are very wise and caring.
I love my grandparents because they're always there when I need them.
We love our grandparents because they take me hunting and fishing. And in the morning we get to cuddle together and hunting together.
I love my grandparents because we always like to have food sometimes it's junk food there, and sometimes my parents don't like me to have some stuff. So it's really fun because we get to have pizza and ice cream, and we always get to watch a movie, and it's just so much fun. I love hanging out with them.
I love my grandparents because they tell me many stories and they love me so much.
I love my grandparents because they spoil me so much and do so much for me.
I love my grandparents because they're funny and kind.
I love my grandparents because they're always there when I need them.
I love my grandparents because they make a good impact on our lives.
I love my grandparents because they're funny.
I love my grandparents because they play board games with me.
I love my grandpa because he's very active and he can go hunting a lot with us.
I love my grandma because she can travel the world with us and we can make so many memories.
I love my grandparents because they teach us important life lessons.
I love my grandparents because they're always there to support me and push me to be the best that I can.
I love my grandparents because they're always there for me and they always support me throughout whatever.
I love my grandparents because they always care so much about me and they always motivate me to be the best person I could be.
I love my grandparents because I always know that they have unconditional love for me.
I love my grandparents because of how supportive they've been in my life and how much they've just encouraged me and helped me to pursue my dreams.
I love my grandparents because they bake with me.
I love my grandparents because they take us places.
I love my grandparents because they're really generous to me, my sister, and my family.
I love my grandparents because probably they're always supportive and they always push me to do what I'm best at, and they plan the best family trips wherever we go.
I love my grandparents because they let me swim in their pool and bake pumpkin bread.
I like my grandparents because they bake with me.
I love my grandparents because they bake cookies with me.
I like grandparents because they play toys with me.
I like my grandparents because they give me toys and they are funny.
I like my grandparents because they're so nice to me.
I love my grandparents because they play with me.
I love my grandparents because they take me fishing.
Last year, my grandparents, Chuck and Sue Schaefer, had the opportunity to speak at Grandparents' Day and give their testimony on what it's been like to be a grandmother and a grandfather to me and my sister and how much they love us and support us. And now I find it quite ironic that you get the flip side of things and you get to hear my testimony. Early this year, actually, my grandfather, Chuck, he got ill, and we didn't really know the extent to his illness until he was admitted in the hospital and stuff, and he needed heart surgery. And everyone kept telling him, his doctors and my grandma and my mom and all of us were like, oh, you should probably go. And this probably, my grandfather has always shown me how much he loves me through everything that he's done. But this was one of those moments that I knew he loved me more than I could ever imagine, because he knew the outcome of his situation would probably end up in his passing. And he postponed it and was like, at the end of January, Olivia's performing in a show. And I was performing in Jekyll and Hyde. I was the female lead here. And he would tell everyone, and he would say, I need to see Olivia. And then you can slice me open and do whatever you want, but I need to see Olivia. And so he did. And he was very short of breath. It took a lot for him to walk from one distance to another, but he conjured up the strength to go and see me on his very last day. And cognitively, I think he knew what was going to happen, even though we didn't really have a grasp on what the outcome might be. I think he did. And just knowing that he knew that this was probably going to be his last day out in the world, out and about, and he chose to not come to one, but 2 of my shows and see me and sit there for 3 hours each and just watch me is such a testament to how much he loved me and how great of a passion he had for watching me and supporting me. And my grandfather was not a man of many words. My grandmother has enough words for the both of them combined. But my grandfather showed himself through his actions, such as I just told you. But he did tell me all throughout I was growing up, I think I was about 7 the first time that this occurred. And he pulled me aside. We were all together, my family, and he pulled me aside and he goes, Olivia, I need to tell you something. I was like, okay. It was like our little secret. And he said, Olivia, I will always have your back. No matter what, you can always call me. I will always have your back. And then it was like our little thing, like, oh, Chuck's got my back. I call him Chuck. Everyone called him Chuck, but I called him Chuck because you call your best friends by their first name. So I called him Chuck. And so Chuck would always tell me this. And it got more frequent as I got older. And then everyone knew. Oh, Chuck's got Olivia's back. It was no secret. Everyone knew he had his claim on me and my sister. And it was really hard to endure his passing, and it has been really hard, but the sadness that I hold just speaks about how great of a man that he was to me and how great of a relationship that we had. And I'm so thankful that for 17 years of my life, I was able to grow that with him and to be able to share in that special bond. And I think that a grandchild-grandparent relationship is something so special and something grandchildren definitely take for granted a lot of the time because they spoil us and we neglect sometimes, but it's something, especially now in these times, that we can't take for granted.
Very good. Coach.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Veterans Day is a very important moment for us as Americans, especially at a school like the King's Academy, in which we're allowed to use our religious freedoms that are given to us and protected by veterans who go out and they fight and sacrifice themselves for the potential sacrifice of losing their lives so that we can come home and be free to worship freely and come to a school of Christianity and Christian-based faith without having to worry about losing those freedoms, because people are deciding that they want to go and they want to help provide for their nation in such a selfish manner that it's just extremely incredible how people can just risk their lives and sacrifice themselves with extreme valor just so that we can have these freedoms. And I'm very thankful for all the veterans that have done so for us, and I continue to be grateful for all of them.
As a graduating senior, I know there's going to come a point in the future where I'm going to have to go off to college and say goodbye to my family. And I may leave them for a couple of months, and the fact that some of these young men and women go to leave their family and say goodbye and have the intention of doing so without seeing them ever again is a selflessness that I could never imagine. Giving one day to veterans for Veterans Day is an absolute understatement. I think that they should be remembered each and every day for their sacrifice. These are people just like us who don't wear capes but are still heroes.
It's important to celebrate Veterans Day because while we don't always see it, a lot of men and women have fought for the freedoms that we currently enjoy in our day-to-day life. There's no greater good than selfless sacrifice in this world, and I think that's something that should be honored.
Veterans Day is perhaps the most important day in America, that being because we get to honor our nation's greatest heroes. They've sacrificed so much for people who are so undeserving that it is important that we keep this tradition of honoring them every year.
Veterans Day serves as a reminder that freedom is not guaranteed. And it is the brilliant men and women that make incredible sacrifices that allow us to share and experience in these freedoms. So on Veterans Day, we thank you.
Veterans Day for me is extremely important because it's a day we get to honor and celebrate the men and women who have so courageously fought for our freedom and not let them go forgotten.